shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to feel. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of lies. Send down your warriors with the hello. They carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil tries to trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we decide? No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Because I will conquer. Oh, I will conquer. Yes, I will conquer. Conquer them. Come on, let's conquer. Oh, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer. Conquer them. I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the various radio stations, 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 91.9 and 91.5 RealFM Radio, 92.9 Sister Rob Radio Broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video stream, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or on Instagram. A very special good morning to you. It is Monday. It is the last Monday in May. And what a beautiful, beautiful way to end the month with a little sprinkle, showers of blessings. Good morning, Mr. Bona.
Good morning to you, Miss Duncan. I find you sound as though your weekend was well spent, so I need not ask about that. And I want to say a very pleasant good morning to all of our listeners. Likewise, I do hope that all of us, and if not all, but the majority, most of us, would have had a very splendid weekend, one in which we did achieve some of the goals that we have set for ourselves. But more importantly, we got some time for relaxation, especially the working ones, those who do the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 4 or 10 to 6, whatever. Or some probably even from 4 to 12 in the night, different shift. Whatever it is you do, I hope you got some time to rest, to reflect, to relax, and of course to rejuvenate so that you can start this brand new week, this Monday, and the rest of this week. Feeling really energized and, going out there and giving it your best, doing your best always.
Always.
Happy Monday morning to everyone.
All right, Mr. Bona, and at the beginning of the week, no better time to continue reminding individuals that we do need to get vaccinated. We will continue talking about vaccination. We have to continue talking about vaccination because it is of paramount importance, Mr. Bona, paramount importance. And as we start seeing a lot more integration of different protocols, not just here in Grenada, but around the region and around the world at large, as it relates to the congregation of vaccinated people, what is and what should and should not be done, what is right, what is not right, and just as we were in the early parts of last year, just as we were trying to find and navigate our way around COVID and around the protocols that are best suited for Grenada, in the same way we need to do with the vaccinated and unvaccinated activities. We need to find our niche, as we call it. As we can see, not every protocol that works in Grenada will work elsewhere, and vice versa. Not all protocols that work elsewhere is going to work in Grenada. And I think most people have gotten a fair understanding of that. Very early we would hear people saying or posting, oh, well, look, this country doing that and that country doing that. How come we doing this and how come we doing that? But clearly the route that we have taken as a country and as a people has worked for us. It has benefited us to the point where we can now boast. We're going on 3 weeks now of 0 cases. We have not even had an imported case, and I think the protocols that we have had thus far have worked tremendously for us. And of course, we have to continue commending our healthcare workers and commending all of the people involved in the enforcement and rollout of these policies, all of the people behind the scenes that you don't really see up front in your face talking about the protocols and talking about what they are doing, but have been working really hard to make sure that we are at this spot. So this morning we want to say thank you, and we want to, just appreciate them for the work that they have done for us, because they have been doing quite a bit behind the scenes in the contact tracing and getting the quarantine facilities ready and so on. These people have really been working to get us to where we need to be.
Well, to get us in a good place, I would say, because where we need to be is to have at least the majority of our adult population over 18 being vaccinated.
Right.
That is where we should be. But be that as it may, yes, there are a lot of people that must come in for a lot of praise. But I also think we need to praise the Grenadian public in general, but in particular, those who have seen it fit, necessary, and the right thing to do to go and get vaccinated.
Yeah. And
those who continue to obey the protocols and act with discipline, understanding that it doesn't take much to change the good fortunes that we have been enjoying, and it doesn't take much for someone to happen to slip through the fingers of the security and the watchful eyes of those who are there trying to impart and instill information and see that the protocols are followed. We continue to make the point that yes, the Royal Grenada Police Force and the Coast Guard have been doing an excellent job in trying to intercept and to ensure that no foreign-based individuals come in to the country except through the legal ports of entry, airport, seaport, if they come by a vessel, by plane, the airport. And while they do that, the IGPF hierarchy itself has announced in recent weeks that they have seen an increase in the illegal entries of persons entering the country illegally, and from some countries that we need to be concerned about because of the level of COVID that are in those countries. So having said all that, the point here is we cannot be too careful. We cannot overemphasize, or we cannot say too much and too regular that we need as a people to be conscious of what is happening around us.
Yeah.
And one understands, I fully understand sometimes the urge to want to go there and have some fun.
Yeah.
Because as a people, we are well known to be very active.
Very social.
Very sociable, always wanting to be part of some activity, whatever that activity may be. And this is our way of life, very lively, the Grenadian public. And understanding that COVID-19 would have put us in a position where we had to go on lockdown, we had to curtail many of those things that we are accustomed to doing.
Yeah.
We were kind of caged inside like a bird. One feels the urge, more often than not to get out there. But with that urge, one have to calculate, is it worth my life? Not worth a couple dollars, or worth a couple drinks, or worth a couple hours. What my life? Because what can eventually happen if you go out there and you contract the virus? It can, and there's a strong possibility that you can die as a result.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Bola. Yes, and I want to give two very, very troubling stories coming out of Trinidad. One I read, and one is, I should say, an extended family story that I want to share. The first one being the one I read out of Tobago, a 38-year-old young lady, I could call her a young lady, 38 years old, passed away. She had no comorbidities. Comorbidities simply means she has no underlying conditions, nothing that could exacerbate as a result of COVID. And she passed away, and her family was giving the story that, well, first of all, they didn't even know she had COVID. She started feeling a pain in her back, a little sick, so she went to the hospital. They said she was walking around as normal in the hospital, and the next day she was dead, tested positive for COVID. And it just goes to show. Now we wouldn't know the results of the autopsy, so we don't know if she had any underlying conditions until the autopsy is given. But as far as they know, she had no comorbidities. But it just goes to show we don't know what's going on in our body. As much as we'd like to say, well, I feel great, I feel wonderful, I exercise every day, I am according to medical standards, I'm fit, I'm not obese, I'm not, I don't have any diabetes, I don't have any high blood pressure. As far as I know, I am the model person for health, right? But we don't know what's going on in our bodies. We don't have a radar inside of us that says, all right, a little cancer here, a little cancer there, you have a autoimmune problem on the horizon. We don't know. So we are really, every day is a risk. Every minute of our lives is a risk. We just don't know what's going on in our bodies. So we cannot take that chance to say, oh, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until the Cuban vaccine becomes available, which we have no idea when that's going to be. Or I'm going to wait until enough people have taken the vaccine so I feel safer about it. But then by the time you're ready to take the vaccine, then is it going to be available? And then we also have to take into consideration, when you don't take it, you're not only putting yourself at risk, but you are putting the people that you surround yourself with at risk, which in general is the whole Grenada population, unvaccinated population. No, well, it's the truth, because at any given day, you can interact with anybody who interacts with anybody who interacts with anybody else, and by the time you know it, the whole of Grenada has interacted with you indirectly. So we have to be very careful, and we have to think about these things when we are making decisions, and not make these decisions selfishly, because we're not just dealing with a personal issue or personal problem. We're dealing with a global pandemic, which means that every single individual on the face of the earth is at risk as it relates to COVID. The other story, Mr. Bola, is quite sad. A household, their relatives, extended relatives, I should say, not directly related to me, but extended relatives in Trinidad. Husband and wife, daughter and son, and the husband and wife are elderly people. They stay at home and so on. They don't go anywhere. But the son would go out and get their groceries and, so on. And then the daughter would come in and take care of them, And the mother and father contracted COVID. The only way they could have possibly contracted it was through interaction with the son, because he was the one who, went out, got the groceries, brought it back, and so on. And father has died. They don't know how to tell the mother that the father has died, because she's really ill with COVID. And the son is now riddled with guilt, because he knows that the only way they could have gotten it was through him. So it's been about 2 weeks now since the father has died, and they haven't told his wife, because they don't know how. Like, how do you tell somebody, your husband went to the hospital and he died of COVID? Somebody who is battling themselves with COVID. And then the daughter now who comes to take care of them also now has COVID, And that's how very easy and very simple it is Very simple. And a very sad story. Because not only is the wife going to be in grief and dealing with a difficult situation of COVID, but the son is dealing with even more grief and guilt over the fact that, I'm the one.
We say it all the time. We preach it as a sermon on this program. We try to bring awareness to the people of this country. And my hope is that at least some will listen and let good sense prevail. Because you get an impression from the utterances that you hear, from the actions that you see, that some people think, well, you can continue to run your mouth, but you're not talking to me, of course.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm strong. I know that my immune system is good. I know that I have the ability to fight this COVID virus. So whatever you say, go right ahead. But I don't have to listen because it's not good for me.
Yeah.
And I think that is the way some people think. Because when you see the actions that they portray, I mean, just this weekend, I think it was, there was a massive activity somewhere out there in Rose Hill in St. Patrick's. And, I was just asking a few questions. I saw some videos were posted. Real carnival-like atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And as I've said before, I imagine how well some people felt. It's a long time they didn't get to free up and dance up and move. But what was most striking is that while you were dancing up and, oscillating your parts and gyrating and, doing all those sort of things that you felt you needed to do, I did not, from the various videos that I saw, see anyone there in that crowd with a mask on. So you were playing mask, but without a mask. Yes? And so I spoke to a couple of people, and the question was always, who gives the authority? Because a couple of people yesterday told me, well, that's an activity that was advertised. There were flyers out, there were things, so they must have gotten permission. And then one person said, yes, of course, they did get the permission to host the event. But look at the flyer. Even on the flyer, it says, all protocols will be adhered to. And therein lies one of the major problems we have. And when the authorities move in sometimes,
we cry victimization.
We cry victimization, that the police is victimizing, and how X have the activity and they didn't go and break it up, and now Y have the activity and they break it up. But they did not go to break up X activity because X understood what the protocols were. Yes. X explained to the patrons what you're supposed to do, the manner in which you're supposed to operate while you are in the function. But Y only said the protocols will be observed and obeyed to make the authorities feel safe and to grant the license or the pass or whatever they give the authority to host the event. Now that's one. The second thing that came to mind was, after giving authorization for whatever function, because I believe from what I've learned, it is a combination of the police and the Ministry of Health to a certain extent. The COVID-19 committee would assess what the activities, where it's being held, size, the space, how much people you're expecting. They'll take all of that. In fact, I believe from what I've learned is that they would even visit some of the scenes, some of the areas to make a determination. And then there's consensual, I don't know if it's contractual, but there's consensual thing that okay, these are the things we have to do. So the committee, along with the police, will highlight all of what is necessary to be done, and the promoters of the activity will give consent. Yes, we will. But does the authority check back, make a tag back, according to some fellas who don't sing, make a little tag back and see for themselves what's happening? So I say yes, I agree to this and I agree to that, and we'll do this and we'll do that. We'll make sure this is in place and that is in place. On the day of the activity, my question is, who checks? Yeah. I think it is the responsibility of the police to uphold those laws. I don't know if the police is stretched. I don't know if they're busting at the seams with the amount of activities. But that activity that was promoted, that was held somewhere in Rosehill or Montfendu Junction, thereabout, was well advertised. But in my opinion, no one supervised, no one checked.
Right.
Because from what I see, and I still have some of the videos on my phone that was sent to me, from what I saw, it was an exact carnival-like atmosphere that was taking place. No one could care less what happened, who they rob on, who they jam on, whatever. Whether you knew the person or not, whether you think the person was COVID positive or negative, you just don't know.
Right.
Right? And I'm saying, and here am I not advocating that you should not have activities. No, that is not what I'm advocating. The best position we can be in, I believe, from the science, is if we all get vaccinated, we can feel a lot safer having those type of activities, knowing that 90% of the people who may attend these activities will be fully vaccinated and thus better capable of fighting the virus. Yes? And ensuring that, because so many of those who are in the activities are vaccinated, if there's a positive person, as the strain go through from vaccinated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, our understanding is that it will get weaker. So we have resistance when we're fighting vaccine. We don't want to take it because of all sorts of things that we hear. We are unable to verify, but we say we ain't taking vaccine because this is going to happen to us and that and what have you. We are not wearing a mask. We're not washing hands regularly and using hand sanitizer. But of course, we want to have all the activities in the same manner like we used to when we had no COVID around.
And we're not social distancing either.
Yes, because everything we do is like there's no COVID. So we really have to be careful.
But you know, I saw someone make the statement over the weekend, well, we ain't had no COVID, so why we still have curfew. And you know, I sometimes wonder, in my mind, honestly, I wonder if people really don't understand why, or if they are saying that with the hope that it will create some sort of rebellion, or they would get some sort of chorus from other people, and a cry would be made for the curfew protocols to be amended or to be, put aside for now because we don't have any COVID. And as we always say here, there's always a motive behind someone's action. Nobody does anything unconsciously without motive. It's either you want to find out information, or you're malicious in your action, or whatever your motive is. There's always a motive behind what you are doing. But I think at this point, Mr. Bola, very few people can say that they don't understand why we are doing some of the things that we are doing, or why we are doing things, or continue to do the things that we are doing. Because the evidence is absolutely clear. There's no ambiguity in the evidence that the protocols that have been put in place have worked,
Yeah.
continue to work, have kept us safe, have kept you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your boss, your cousin, have kept us all safe, have saved us from the grief of losing a family member very quickly. There's no wait time. There's no time. Like when somebody get a cancer, sometimes the doctor say, okay, well, you have a 6 weeks, or you have a month, or you have a 2 months, or we could fight this, man. You have a year. We gonna give you some chemo and you're gonna be fine. You don't have that opportunity. COVID is swift. It comes, it does what it has to do, and then it's gone. Some people are lucky to recover with minimal long-lasting disability. Some people don't recover. Some people's family members don't even get an opportunity to say, if I had known better. Some people don't get an opportunity to say, if I had known better. And it's very unfortunate that because we have not seen this kind of death or felt this kind of grief, that we feel that we are the only country in the world that is invincible to COVID. That we feel that if COVID comes here, we go survive. That we feel that we are the only country in the world that when COVID come in, it will send an advance notice. So we can do what we want now. And then when that advance notice reach, we go start to put on we mask and obey the protocols. So COVID ain't gonna catch us unsuspecting. It does not work like that. And it's very disappointing that it's the educated people that I see saying these nonsensical things. The people who are supposed to know better. The people who are supposed to be aiding in the fight. So fine, you don't believe in vaccination. You don't want to get the vaccine. You don't trust that the vaccine is going to do what they have asked, what they have said it's going to do. Okay. Then advocate for people to follow the protocols. Because at the end of the day, whether you believe in the vaccine or not, whether you agree that there should be a curfew or not, whether you think quarantine should be 14 days or 30 days, whether you believe your immune system is strong so you could fight COVID if you get it, it does not take away from the fact that over, and let me pull up the number here, 3 million people have died as a result of COVID.
3.558
million people, or 3 million households are grieving because they have lost a
leaving
loved
out a
one.
whole lot.
No, I'm saying
It's
3 million because you might have a
500.
2 and a 3 people die in a home and thing. I don't want to say 3 million households.
No. I'm saying it's 3.5 million.
Yeah.
3.5 million
That
people,
has died.
plus another 58,736.
That has died.
Thus far. Because you have dying still.
You still have died every minute of the day.
Yes.
They said in India every 4 minutes
Someone dies
from COVID. And here we are with the blessing that we have been given, with the mercies that we have been granted, taking COVID for a fool. And not just taking COVID for a fool, but taking God for a fool as well. Because I'm quite sure that it is because of some of our prayer warriors somewhere that has been praying on our behalves that we have been so safe so far. I mean, coupled with the protocol. But it has to be, Mr. Bola, it can't be nothing short of God.
I don't
has
think
to be.
But, my dear, if we bring God into the picture, we will know from biblical readings that God don't himself do advantageous things to people.
Yep.
But sometimes when we get too stubborn, he allows things to happen and to take the course, hoping that we will learn our lessons. I am fearful that we may get to the stage in Grenada where we may have to learn our lesson the hard way.
I hope not.
I really hope not also. But every time we think that we are making some progress in terms of our people having a better understanding of the present situation, we see something happen someplace, somewhere, some village, some constituency that causes us to think, well, we really made a mistake in thinking that our people are doing what is necessary or doing the correct things to avoid as much as possible, avoid COVID. But that doesn't seem to be the case by some of the actions that we see. You know, the hesitancy, the complaining, the non-compliance, the total refusal in some instances about vaccine. Some people don't even want to talk about it. They tell you, don't even talk about that with me. I don't want to converse about it. It's that bad in some instances. And yet still, in a time like this, I mean, it's probably outside of Hurricane Ivan when it struck and did all its destruction. The COVIDious period that we have had from since 2020 to now probably is one of the worst we have ever seen. You know, the psychological impact it is having on some people. The loss of revenue that it has caused for some people. The joblessness it has created for some people. The inability now of some families to feed and take care of themselves. I mean, catching the virus and getting sick is just one small part of the destructive trail that COVID would leave behind. The overwhelming way in which it affects the health sector. Nurses and doctors and other medical professionals having to be on the P's and Q's and working extended hours and having to run from one point to the next to provide services for the people.
And having to spend most of their time or most of their shift or all of their shift in a hazmat suit.
And then we are not talking about the financial implications as yet. So there are so many reasons for us as a people to understand that we should do everything within our power to prevent this thing from reoccurring in our country, but more importantly, from spreading amongst our people. Because that is the worst case scenario you have in community spread. And it means that an entire community could be wiped out even before they know who was the person that first had it in that community or who brought it into the community. And our country is that small that it could be considered a community in comparison to some of the larger countries in terms of the population, you know, and the resources available. We can handpick some countries and say they're doing better than us in a lot of ways. But the bottom line here is, my friends, we have done well. There are many people who have put themselves, their career, their family on the line. They went out there and fought a good fight. They went into the battlefield. Some of them not even fully get up for the battle, but they did. By being on our airports and our seaports, by ensuring that every passenger that have to come in is being checked, being screened, being analyzed, and placed somewhere, whether, as you said, for 14 days, 12 days, 10 days, whatever it may be, for you to quarantine so that you don't spread it among your family. Everything that they have done is a sacrifice. The police officers, the Coast Guard, the public servants within the Ministry of Health, the cabinet of this country, the COVID-19 task force or team, who sits even on a weekend, sometimes both Saturday and Sunday evenings. These people gave up time that they're not all working people. Many of them are just volunteers. Many of them give up the time they should be spending with their family, with their grandchildren, or with their children, with their wives or husbands, and spend 2 and 3 hours on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, sometimes from since Friday evening, discussing what is happening around us, bringing on board the new information that is being made available, and then deciding what decisions we take as a country to deal with the impasse that is before us. I mean, don't we have respect, and can we honor what these people do? And all we need to do is not bow and genuflect in front of them.
Yeah.
All we need to be is become more disciplined, obey, and work with the protocols that has been established. They are there for a reason. They were placed there for our own protection. Why are we behaving that way?
And Mr. Paula, it's very unfortunate that the people who you see making these utterances and people who are doing these things are very heavily anti-government. And they feel that in doing what they're doing, they're hurting government in some way. In some way, they are trying to make it seem as if government is incompetent in their job and so on, and not understanding the implications of what they're doing. They're not understanding that this is not a government versus the people fight.
At all.
This is not an administration versus Grenadians fight. This is not an NNP versus NDC kind of fight. This is a global pandemic that we are dealing with, and you would hope that some people would have the common sense to separate something so massive from their own personal and political problems. And it's very unfortunate that some of the unsuspecting people within the country are the ones that are being swept up in this conspiracy. I want to call it a conspiracy, to make people feel as if it is the government's fault, that if it's as if it's Dr. Mitchell's fault directly that we are going through COVID right now. That the effects of COVID on the economy is directly associated with the leadership of Dr. Mitchell. That the protocols and measures that has to be put in place is of direct fault of Dr. Mitchell's. Very unfortunate that we cannot see beyond our personal and political emotions for the betterment of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. Just this weekend, I believe, Grenada donated 10,000 of its vaccines to Trinidad and Tobago. As we had promised, we would not let vaccines go to waste. And as the minister said, there are countries who have been asking, because as much as we would like to believe that vaccines will become very available to us, it is not the reality for a lot of countries in the region. Trinidad and Tobago has had to solicit the assistance of many of their brothers and sisters in the region to get vaccines for their people. And here we are, thinking that, well, I go wait.
It's available and we're not going to take it up.
I go wait.
It's a sad case. And I hope that there are some young people who are listening to us at this time, because I really want to appeal to them. Someone said maybe the messengers are not good enough, but we need to separate the message from the messenger.
In this case, definitely.
In this case. And to add with what you said, which is so correct, this is not a fight between one party and the next. It's not a fight between government and people. It's not a fight between unions and government or police officers and the public. It's a fight that all of us should join against COVID-19. The entire population of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique should join it. Join that army that wants to destroy COVID. Not destroy each other,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you still have your choice to make.
Yeah.
Which political party you want to align yourself with, or which political party you want to see in office, or you will vote to see if you can get them into office.
Yeah.
Because, you know, maybe it's because I think different, or maybe because I see things different. It is so difficult to understand why this fight. No, I understand questions.
Yeah.
I understand there are some people that are suspect. I understand the suspicion. What I don't understand is the non-rational, the non-answer. You ask some people, why won't you take the vaccine?
Yeah, I don't want
and
that.
they cannot give you a rationalized reason.
You're right. You hear some of the
I don't want it.
Explanation.
Oh, that's not a good thing. What is it about it that it's not good? What made it not good?
Yeah. They're just testing that on all you.
Yeah. I mean, when you get that, you will die in 2 years or 3 years. Well, 3 years ago, who took it and died now?
But you know, me and somebody was having that conversation just on Thursday. We had that very same conversation. Oh, they say somebody say that in 2 years you can start having problems. So I asked them, I say, well, who is this person 2 years ago? Or these people 2 years ago that the COVID vaccine was tested on, and they know that this is exactly what is going to happen to them 2 years down the line. And if that is the case, then it makes the argument that the COVID vaccine was made too quickly moot. Right? It makes that argument moot, because then it means it would have had to been tested on somebody 2 years before to know that in 2 years or in 4 years you're gonna get you're gonna get sick, or you're gonna turn into some animal, or your genes will be altered as a result of that. Some of these arguments are so ridiculous, Mr. Bola, that I find it hard to believe how these people could make these things sound rational in their own minds.
Because that is their job. Some people are good at what they do. They said it was not Hitler that was the bad man, it was Dr. Gobert.
Yeah.
Because he knew how to do better.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So some people just know how to turn all good things into bad things. But I say praise and thanks and glory to all of those who have seen it necessary and vital, and who understand that they want to protect and save their lives, that of their family, and to help Grenada to rebound, to help us to be able to open up again and to provide jobs and opportunities and services so that more people will get back to work. The whole hotel sector, or the tourism sector, as they would call it, with all of the taxi drivers and vendors and hotel and restaurant workers and water taxi and whatever else they were doing, 5,000 plus, as we understand, who are out of a job, has been out of a job from since last year when we went into full lockdown, and still cannot fend for themselves. And government is not in a position to take care totally of all these people, month after month after month after month. A little stimulus package was given, or two, on 1 or 2 tranches, and that's it, because the government still has to consider finding monies to pay people. The 4% is still up in the air. I understand that there are behind the scenes communication and some action or some announcement pretty soon will be made. I hope that will curb and cause the industrial strife and problems that we're having to complete. But we need to, as you said earlier on, consider our decisions and the impact that it's having, not just on our lives, but on our community and our country and on the people whom some of us say we love. The impact it is having on our own family members, our own loved ones, our relatives, our good friends, who today cannot do as they used to do before because they are out of a job. Yeah. We need to. And I mean, I've heard some 1 or 2 employers speaking boldly that they have no issue with any of the employees who do not want to take the vaccine, but they have an issue with providing them with employment because they have to protect their business.
Yeah. And you know, that's a very interesting conversation that needs to be had. And it has really nothing to do with whose right it is, if it's the employer's right to do this, or if it is the employee's right to take the vaccine or not. But it has to do with bare economics. You know, if you don't get vaccinated and there's an outbreak and, you know, you have to go home sick and 12 of you have to go home sick, then it means that my business is at risk. It means that I am going to start losing resources. I'm going to start losing finances. And then I still can't pay you anyway. You know, so we have to take that into consideration. I know there's a massive conversation going on in the general public around the rights of employers, and employees and what it is. But really and truly, Mr. Bola, there has to be a balance, you know, and we have to, especially in our thinking, not be so one-sided, because just as the employees or the individual has a right to say, I do not want to get vaccinated, the employer has a right to say, well, in order for me to conduct business, my staff has to be vaccinated. So the choice really is yours. They're not forcing you. They are giving you a choice to make. And I keep saying to individuals, with every choice that we have, with every right that we have, comes a responsibility. So you have to know for yourself, okay, my right is to not get vaccinated. It is my choice, and I am going to make that choice. I'm going to enforce that right, and I'm going to enforce that choice. However, the repercussion of me exercising my right is me not being able to work in this institution and in this facility. And I have made peace with that. Now, if that is a conversation that is going on, fine. But the conversation, Mr. Bola, very unfairly so, cannot be that it is my right to not get vaccinated, and it is not my boss's right to say to you that in order for my business to continue to run, you have to get vaccinated. That is a very unfair conversation. It's very unbalanced and it's one-sided. You cannot expect an individual in a private company who depends on the availability of jobs, who depends on the availability of their employees, who depends on them being well and healthy enough to carry out their duties, asking you to get vaccinated, or they may not be able to continue your employment.
Well, it appears to be straightforward and simple. It may be much more complicated. As we have said sometime before, I am not a legal luminary. You may be more legally gifted than I am, so you may know a few more things than I do. We really need the legal minds to wrap around this whole issue and to give their view, their side. I think it's a new phenomenon for all of us.
Yeah.
I don't know of a time when there was a need for mass vaccination worldwide, to deal with a pandemic. As I oftentimes say, and would like to repeat again, the last time we knew we had a pandemic was a little over 100 years ago. And so most of the people who dealt with it and was around probably are not around today. The vast majority of them are not. So the legal mind will have to determine what happens there. Yeah. But I really do believe that people should use the opportunity to ask questions, sensible ones, and make prudent decisions. Because from what I've learned and from what I'm seeing and what I'm getting from the news, international news, as the days go by, it appears as though COVID and the effects of COVID will be with us and around us for quite a while. Yeah. In fact, the many new strains that they're seeing, the ability of the virus to keep mutating every time you do something to limit it and to fight it, it's capable of reinventing itself, so to speak, because mutating is coming back in a different shape and form and size and with greater abilities. Yes?
Yeah.
the more we see of that, the more I tend to believe that it would be around for a very, very, very long time.
You see, I think what happened to us, Mr. Bola, in the world, everybody in the world that is that we became too complacent and too comfortable too quickly. We felt like, okay, well, our protocols are working, so let's do this way or let's do that. And we became very complacent. And we really, really underestimated COVID. Really and truly. I think that we have seen similar viruses before. We have beaten similar viruses before, but we never anticipated COVID to outsmart us in the way that it has done. Because that's really what COVID has done. It has outsmarted us. Every time we think that we have it on the wraps, it does something that completely defies all reasoning, all of our expectations. And it continues to show us this, Mr. Bola, but yet we continue to take it for granted.
That's true. That's true. And that's very sad, So please, people, the call is wise up. Get information if you don't feel comfortable enough with the information you have.
Yeah.
Speak to the people who would be in the know.
Yeah.
Medical doctors, people in the medical field, the Ministry of Education. Stop just listening to all kind of
pseudo doctors and pseudo virologists. That's what you don't know other name for them, Mr. Bola. Pseudo doctors and pseudo virologists.
Okay.
But I do want to share, and I waited till now to do it, closer to 11 o'clock, so that the lady that called us last week, who was inquiring about what the dates and locations would be for vaccination this week, would most likely hear, and I'll repeat it again sometime during the program, the course of the program. So the schedule from May 31st to June 4th, that'll be from today till Friday, would be Kirani James National Stadium. They're going to be there today from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Gate B, and that's the side with the athletic side close to the market, where the vendors are now. On Tuesday, however, they will not be at the stadium. They will be vaccinations only at the medical centers, where you have to call and make an appointment to get that done. But there will also be vaccination at SAM, St. Augustine Medical Services, and they will be there from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. So that 3-hour period for vaccination there. So no National Stadium on Tuesday, but they will be at SAM's, and of course you can continue at health centers. On Wednesday, there will be vaccination at the Kirani James Stadium, Gate B again, and all health centers as per usual. On Thursday, there will be no vaccination given because Thursday is a public holiday. And on Friday, they will be back at the stadium again. So that is the schedule for the week. So if the individual that was trying to get vaccinated before they leave on the second, or get their second shot before they leave, I hope this information is helpful to you. I hope you heard. If not, I hope you listened to our advice last week and look at the Ministry of Health website, so that they can continue to inform you. Guys, we're going to open the lines at this time so that others can involve themselves in the conversation. The number to call is 440-7377. If you are calling locally, if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. The number to call or send us a message on WhatsApp is 440-7377 as well, and you can also send us messages on the live video stream. I know we are looking at the U.S. We are looking at things that are happening in some of the states. Persons are able to go ahead and to congregate without masks and have fun, have a good time. But guess what? They are able to do that because they have been vaccinating at alarming speeds. Their people have been going out and getting their vaccines. I think it's about 40% of in some of those states of the population that has been vaccinated, and 50% have, or more than 50% have received their first shot at least. So in some way, shape, or form, their people are either in whole or partially protected. So before we can even open our mouths to say, well, look at, we must first look at ourselves and say, are we at a place where we can even utter those words, that we can even say, well, look at, so why? We have to. There's some comments on the live video here. One individual is saying, these are the people that don't care because they have seen, they have not seen someone suffer or die with COVID, right? Someone else is saying, you are correct. If they see one of their family members in bed suffering for oxygen. Someone else here is saying, congratulations to Grenada for helping Trinidad with the vaccine. As a soldier, I feel happy of my country, Grenada. Another individual is saying, Ms. Duncan, you realize the global pandemic carries a global behavior of political blaming. When you know the truth, you ignore the noise. Someone else is saying, everyone must protect their people and property at all times. People and property.
There are reasonably good comments from people who I believe have a sense of understanding of what is happening around us. And, we just want to encourage those who have been doing well, following the protocols, acting with discipline, to continue and to encourage as much people as they can, the younger ones in particular. Because generally, the teenage, the youthful adults are generally, not only, but are generally the ones who feel that desire for some of the more public kind of activities, whether it's the bus rides, the beachorama, the sessions at the crossroads, and
But also, we need to start the conversation, Mr. Bowler, surrounding events for persons who are vaccinated. Even though policies are put in place to allow vaccinated people to congregate without the wearing of masks or in numbers greater than what the protocol for unvaccinated persons allow, we have to start the conversation of responsibility and honesty. Because I'm hoping that this does not ever become an issue. But, we're dealing with people, so persons who feel the need to, as what happened in Rose Hill, where you have
it's between Rose Hill and Montfenju, somewhere there about it. So I'm not absolutely sure. Some people said Rose Hill, some said Montfenju Junction. So you don't want to be laying blame on a village that is somewhere in that vicinity.
So where we would have you advertise one thing, you got approval for one thing, but there we are in the mix, 300 people, and half of them not vaccinated, but we have advertised that's a vaccination only event. And we have seen it happening even with the current protocols, where persons are not allowed to congregate over 20 or 50 or in some cases, or given approval for a certain amount, and then you go and you see that it has exceeded that amount, and even with the exceeding of the amount, persons are not following the protocols. So you can't even say, well, a little more than they're supposed to, but everybody had on their mask and they were sort of socially distanced, so we'll use our discretion. You can't even say that, because they blatantly ignore every protocol that has been put in place. And I think it's I'm beating my chest at the police or at the authority, not just police, but authority figures in general. I'm beating my chest at the authority. Nobody can tell me what to do kind of behavior.
And if the police were to step in and try to bring some level of control and, then they up in arms against the police. They throw missiles at them, they threaten them, they refuse to do what, and then if the police get into a mood where they decide to make arrests, the public come down on them and say, oh, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and X does get chance to do their own, and why can't Y do it? But we have to be reasonable in the way we view things. X may be able, like I explained before, to do it because X is following the protocols to the T. Y was given an opportunity to do like X, but Y broke all of the legislation or all of what they're supposed to do. So we have to be very careful as a people. I would love to see more activities happening because I have a kind of sense of understanding what is going through the minds of some people. I am not a big sort of party liming fan, but I cannot judge it based on my personalities. There are a lot of other people who feel different, who wants to do things. But if we have to, and we really feel it's a need for us to do, let us do it properly to make sure that we continue to safeguard ourselves and safeguard our population. Let us first and foremost consider and go out and take our vaccines. So more of us can lift our hands and say, look, I'm fully vaccinated. I am fully vaccinated. I am fully vaccinated. So we stand a much better chance. Even if we congregate, we stand a better chance of not catching, or if we should catch, the issue of severe sickness and possibility of death is avoided. Yes? Or even if all of us in that particular session wasn't vaccinated, more of us must be there wearing our masks so as to create some level of barrier and protection for each other. That's all I'm saying. I am not anti-activity, and I don't even think the government or the police or the COVID committee is anti that. What they're pleading to people to do is let us put ourselves in a position where we no longer have to worry. We don't have to seek permission because we have reached herd immunity with the numbers of people getting vaccinated. But it's like our foreparents used to say, many of us want to eat our cake and have it. Many of us feel that we are the bosses. Who are you to tell me that I can't do my activity? Who are you to tell me that I must wear a mask or I must get vaccinated? We're not saying you must. We are saying it is the best thing to do. But if you don't feel like you want to, then you may be selling yourself short in terms of some of the activities that you can host or probably even attend.
And like we said, with every choice comes a responsibility.
Of course.
With every choice comes a repercussion, whether that repercussion is beneficial to you or whether you feel like the repercussion is against you. There is always a consequence to every action, and every action is a choice that we make. You choose not to get vaccinated. That is your choice, but you have to deal with what the repercussions of those choices are. And you may not feel like the repercussions are in your favor, but it is a choice. It is not a secret. They ain't hide and say, well, if you ain't get vaccinated, you can't attend certain things, and if you ain't get vaccinated, you can't do this and you can't do that. That was never a secret. That was always there in the open from the get-go, whether it was verbalized here or it was verbalized in other countries around the world. It was never a secret. So you can't say, oh, well, look, they're trying to force us to take the vaccine by telling us we can't attend this event. No, they are telling you that the vaccine is our best shot as a country to prevent our loved ones from dying, to prevent there being an overload of our healthcare system, to prevent a complete and total economic catastrophe in our country. They are saying that these are the reasons why we should get vaccinated. And you are saying you don't want to get vaccinated because it is your choice. And that's okay. But you must deal with, as an individual, as a consenting adult, making a consenting decision to not get vaccinated, you must deal with the repercussions that come with that. And if that means that you not getting vaccinated means that you can't go out after 12 o'clock, or it means that you cannot congregate without your masks in a group that is over 50, then so be it, because that is the repercussion of the choice that you have made. You can't blame nobody for that. So you want to blame the government for asking you to get vaccinated, and you still want to blame them for not allowing you to participate in activities with people who chose to get vaccinated. But we unfair. We can't have we cake and eat it, or eat we cake and have it.
Well,
that is impossible.
I don't know. Who tell you that magic does happen sometimes?
But that had to be magic. Had to be.
And miracles can still work.
I know.
But, my friends, I don't know how else to say it. Again, I want to thank those who have been doing it, who have seen good reason and accepted good reason. Continue to encourage others. And those who have not done it yet, give some serious consideration, seek some relevant information, and sooner than later, get vaccinated. It's the best thing you can do for yourself, your family, and your country. Now, Mr. Duncan, I don't know if you have any more or the
yes, there's a comment on the live that I do want to read.
Yes,
because I know you want to switch a conversation just a little bit.
Well, if we can, because we have been going at it, and we can't stop. Today won't be the last. It's just that I don't know that we need to spend the entire
2 hours talking about it.
Because we have been doing it. I hope, I'm very hopeful that at least even if it is one person out there who have heard us, will make the decision as a result.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. So even though it's one at a time, they have already said one cocoa full the basket. Yeah. The greatest, the tallest and largest building in the world started by laying one block first. Mm-hmm. So every one that goes, it means it's a block laid on top of another one, and we're getting closer and closer to the numbers. We'd like to have it done much quicker, but we respect, and personally, I respect the fact that some people are genuinely fearful, that some people have been misinformed, that some people have some level of trust issues. But by and large, at the end of the day, I think all of those fears can be addressed and dealt with by seeing the sheer numbers, not just in Grenada, but around the world.
Yeah.
The people in Trinidad was pleading and begging and saying to the other Caribbean islands, if your people don't want, if you don't want the vaccine, give it to us.
Give it to
Why?
us, yeah.
Because they have a situation that is real. They are seeing it. They are feeling it.
Yeah.
They are dying daily. Their loved ones are dying daily. Their parents, So to them, their choice, the best shot, is to get vaccinated. Yeah. That's what we're saying here in Grenada too. Our situation is not as dire as theirs, but it can become very easily so too. Yes?
Yeah.
So let's be considerate. So, read your.
Yeah, there's a comment on the line. It's kind of a string of comments from the same person, but I want to take the time to read it because it's important. And this individual is saying, when we asked why we will not take the vaccine, I prayed and talked to God, and his word says in Psalm 91, I will protect you and heal you and deliver you. He also said, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me. Psalms 23:4. He said, I took it by faith, trust, and obedience to God. So he's saying, brothers and sisters in the Lord, please get vaccinated. God is able. And someone else is saying, St. Kitts was like us too. No COVID. Look at what is happening there now. And that is also very true.
Yeah, well, it's not only St. Kitts. A couple of them, I think Anguilla and so.
Yes.
For many weeks,
yes.
They had none. And They took it for granted.
And
Even India, that is reeling under COVID today,
yeah.
for at a period of time, they had very, very, very low numbers, and they took for granted that they had beat the virus, and there was no need, for protocols and what have you. And look at them now. Look at me now. Look at what is happening to them now.
Yeah.
Only to realize that this is a virus that once you play careless.
Yeah. Once you get complacent.
Yep.
Like I said, COVID don't have no forward in address. It didn't telling you where it's going next or when it's going to be in your area. It's just going to take you by surprise. It's going to take you by surprise.
With all that has happened around the world, I don't know if it is still a surprise. In fact, we should be living even with more expectation.
We're playing, some of us, we're doing everything we do to go against the protocols, and when COVID started to do, we playing surprise, We're more surprised than COVID itself.
Well, we shouldn't be.
We're playing surprised.
So, Miss Duncan, if we shift a little bit, what has happened over the weekend? You're always in the know.
I am always in the know.
Well, you're on Facebook, you're here, you're there. You're a very digital woman. You're.
I like that. I'm always in the know. Well, it to be honest, Mr. Bola, very much has not been happening in the current affairs arena. There has been a lot of talk of vaccination, of course, but also there has been that talk of the 4% dispute being rectified as soon as.
Have they said it's being rectified, or
in the process of being? Are they looking? Well, let me.
There are
see.
new possibilities ahead of us.
New possibilities ahead of us.
Because our understanding is that the trade unions, had brought new proposals to the table,
right?
Which the government at the moment most likely is looking at. Because I heard that the negotiating team for government had their discussions, looked at it, and was preparing to bring it forward to the cabinet to get some sort of feedback or so, and hopefully we can see some results, positively speaking. So,
and we would like, trust me, Mr. Bola, I would love for this issue to get resolved so that our children can go back to some semblance of not normalcy but comfort. COVID has already added so much contention and so much issue and so much upheavals in their life as it stands right now. More than ever before, we are hearing of cases of sexual abuse among our young people. And this is clearly so because there is now more access. There is now more access. And I really would want our children to feel...
But there is more access.
In terms of children, there has been more access. Meaning that children are now more exposed. Before you have children in school, in an extracurricular activity.
Now you make me understand what you're saying.
Yeah, they're more exposed. So, and then we also have the factor in, you want them to feel like there's somewhere that they can go where there isn't any trouble. For those who are really struggling. Mm-hmm. Some of them feel like you go to school and you can breathe a sigh of relief because you feel like you're in a safe place. But it's not a good thing when you can go to school and you're hearing about this issue or that issue. And in some cases, some of the educators are very vocal about their issues with the students.
Yep.
Very vocal about it, as if it's a children problem. As in some cases, some children have reported of teachers saying, well, if government don't pay us with money, and this kind of behavior, and it's very unfortunate that some of the educators of our country see the need to behave in that sort of way. Because really and truly, it's not a fight with the children. It's not a fight with their parents. If you bring this information to the children, it's not going to change the situation. You are involving them really in something that they have no control over, putting them in an already even more uncomfortable situation. So I really would hope that the situation gets resolved as quickly as possible, and that we get to a place where everybody is happy. And everybody being happy is not just saying, well, give them the 4% and everybody will be happy. No. That's not true. Because something is going to have to suffer for something else.
Well, I hope nothing suffers. I really do hope. And it was the promise of the government that as the months go by and things economically gets better, that the collection of revenue shoots up rather than bow down, that it would give them the room, the elbow room, the space to be able to implement the payment. I don't know what the situation is now. We are we're getting into completion of the second quarter. By the end of June, I think, should be the end of the second quarter for the year.
Right.
From the first quarter, there was a deficit of, I think, was it 3 million or something? I don't remember the figures off my head now, but when they presented to the union, there was a sort of overspend, I think about 3 million more than what was collected in terms of revenue. I hope that business and collection of government revenue has improved that much, so they can wipe out the deficit but see a surplus.
Yeah. But
and
also,
if that is happening, then the government may well be in a better position now to either adhere to the new proposal, which I have not seen or heard what's in it. They seem to be very tight-lipped.
Yes.
No one is talking
on both sides
what's in that new proposal. But whatever it is, I hope for some resolution to take place.
Yeah. We all hope for that, Mr. Bola, so that everybody could go back to. I mean, it's been a rough 2 years for these children. Honestly, it has been a rough 2 years. It's been what was the first thing they pensions and gratuity. Then it was COVID. Then it's 4%. That it's been a lot for them, So I'd really hope that we could get to a place where we can breathe a sigh of relief, and say, yes, things are going.
Sure, it's a sign of relief we could be. Some time we get it resolved, and then we have to ban our bellies.
We have to ban our belly. But that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that we get it to a place where something don't have to suffer for something else. Honestly, because I know that in this case we are saying, okay, well, give them the 4%, they deserve it, which was never an argument. Nobody is saying that they don't. Or give them, it's a signed agreement, it's a legal obligation, you have to adhere to it. That is also not an argument, because nobody is saying that it would not have been adhered to. But I think we're in a place where we would want to see everybody happy, and not just the persons who are supposed to get the 4%, but also the people who has to make now the sacrifices so that it can become available to them. Because we have to remember, people will make sacrifices for this. Sacrifices will have to be made for the greater good, if that's what you want to call it, the greater good. Sacrifices will have to be made. Well, we wait to hear what those agreements are. I anticipate hearing what that new proposal that has been put on the table by the unions, I anticipate hearing what it is, because, someone on the live is asking if they can be paid with bonds.
Well, it's difficult to say yes or no to that, because what bonds are, it's more or less like a promissory note. and it means that somewhere down the line the government will still have to find the money.
Right.
And I think bonds come with interest as well.
Right.
Government will have to find the money to pay when the bonds mature. That you pay it out with an interest.
Right.
So one way or the other, it's a cost on the public coffers. It will be a cost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that it is impossible.
But then in paying in bonds, it's probably the same thing as or close to government saying, well, let's pay you in a back pay.
Yeah, it's something like that because government, for the months that government have not paid yet.
Right. They have to add an interest to that.
To it, yep.
To that. Mr. Bola, time is quickly running out on us as we go through the week. We did say it was going to be a short week.
For the program.
For the program. Yes. A short week for the program.
Because this week is not going to be 5 days. It's going to be 7 still, right? So it's not a short week.
I'm watching it and I'm confused now. Well, yeah. I mean...
But you said it. You said this week is a short week.
It's going to be a short program week.
Okay.
We have tomorrow, hopefully, the post-cabinet briefing. But further from that, there is a sitting of the Senate on Wednesday. And then on Thursday is a holiday. The holiday come up quick, be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was always on the calendar.
No, but I wasn't paying attention to that.
Well, that's a different
I really
thing.
didn't expect the holidays to be the first week in June, so.
But you didn't expect because you weren't paying attention. But that is not what made it come quick.
Yeah, the first week in June, we have Corpus Christi, and then we're not sure yet for Friday. Possibly there will be a program on Friday, but we can't say until, later in the week. But we would definitely keep persons updated on what is going on, what is happening, right? So guys, we will take this opportunity to remind you that the lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. But if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, you can do so. And you can contribute to the conversation. And I want to repeat again for the lady who called us last week.
Well, I think it will benefit her, but you want to repeat so that other people who was intending or making their minds up will know where they can go during this week to get vaccinated.
Right. So during the course of this week, like we said on Monday, they're at the Karani James Stadium, Gate B. That's the side closest to the vendors market. You can go there from 9 to 2. So that's today. There will be no vaccination.
Also, there would also be at all health centers.
Right. So they'll be at all health centers regardless for the duration of the week, except on Thursday where there's a public holiday. And of course, you have to make sure that you call and make an appointment before visiting the health center to receive your vaccine. On Tuesday, they'll be at Sam's from 12 to 3. On Wednesday, they'll be back at the National Stadium. There'll be no vaccination on Thursday, and on Friday, they're back at the stadium again. All right? So share it with a friend, share it with a loved one, so that people know where they can go to get vaccinated. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Duncan. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good. Well, holiday season is coming up, so hope you all have good health to enjoy it.
Well,
something I'd like help with this morning. I've been trying to get onto the Ministry of Health for the longest while. I got an email. I emailed them twice. I didn't get no response back. I know they're working the busy schedule, but there is an issue with some mosquitoes in the New Hampshire area, not too far from the medical station. A swimming pool that they got out there that is like abandoned, is not in use.
Okay.
And my mother is out there trying to get through that season, and she really needs some help. The house is a good sized house. The water, they throw the water, all the water come back and all, flood the basement. And then they have top of it, the swimming pool is not active. So all the mosquitoes are...
They're doing the thing in there. They're laying
yes.
Okay.
So I want to see if we can get some help to get them
Vector
to look at
Control
it.
Division.
Yeah, that's 440-2095.
Yeah. You sure that's the number for Vector Control?
I'm sure.
Right. And they sometimes operate from somewhere out in Queen's Park, I think. You know. Vector Control used to operate from there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Repeat that number again. Let him try it, but we will try to see what information we can pass. Where exactly in New Hampshire you have or maybe we can take your number, so if we get in touch with them, they can call you so you can give directions?
Well, they could call the local number.
Because that's an overseas call. Go ahead.
Yeah. 440-1900. That would be the local call.
440-1900.
And you said it's in New Hampshire, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And it's a house that has been collecting water?
No. A swimming pool is that is not in use.
Swimming pool in the back with the water dumping from the house. Yeah.
Right. So the water is dumping from the house into an abandoned...
That is double jeopardy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. So we'll see what we can do and who we can contact and pass the information on.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And enjoy. Have a blessed
All right.
You too. Yeah. I know that the Ministry of Health is continuing with their fogging exercise on the 30th of May. From the 31st to the 4th of June. They have a schedule for St. David. And they sent out that schedule, I believe, sometime yesterday regarding a fogging exercise, and it reads: the Ministry of Health annual fogging campaign forms part of a broader strategy to suppress cases of dengue and reduce the Aedes aegypti mosquito population. Health officials are appealing to the public to take all necessary measures to ensure the success of the mosquito suppression exercise by cooperating with the fogging terms and opening up their homes to allow the fog to enter so that it can kill the mosquitoes. Persons with respiratory difficulties such as asthma are again reminded to stay away from the fog or to inform the fogging team of their respiratory condition. Beekeepers are also asked to inform the team of any beekeeping activities in the area to be fogged. The public is also asked to be mindful of the Mosquito Destruction Act of 1952, which states that they or individuals are required to keep their premises free of the breeding of mosquito larvae, and the failure to do so can result in them being found guilty of an offense. The penalty for this is a fine of $250 on summary conviction in the first instance and $500 on subsequent violations. Please be guided accordingly. For any information, please contact the Vector Control Department by calling 440-2095.
Yeah, but you didn't give the areas where they would be in St. David's.
Yes. So on Monday, today, they're going to be in Pomrose from 5 p.m. On Tuesday, Malmount from 5. On Wednesday, what's that, Malty, Content, and including Tabor Hill, and that's from 5 p.m. as well. And on Friday, they're going to be in Corinth. All right. This information, again, is available on the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. So if you haven't liked or followed their page, you should, so that you can get these updates on social media to keep you informed of the happenings as it relates to health in our country. So remember, it is your personal responsibility as per the Mosquito Destruction Act of 1952 to ensure that you are not breeding mosquitoes in your area. So if you know that you have parts of your premises that is collecting or holding water, and it can be a possible breeding ground for mosquitoes, you would want to ensure that you get that sorted out. Remember, the penalty can be $250 on summary convictions in the first instance and $500 for subsequent violations or any violations after that. So please keep that in mind, because as we're dealing with COVID, we keep forgetting that there are things out there that still exist, i.e. dengue. Dengue. And we have noticed, not just here in Grenada, but I believe in St. Vincent almost recently had an outbreak of dengue.
Dengue.
And dengue as well is also a fatal disease or virus as well. So you want to keep that in mind. Dengue is not just get a mosquito bite and my bones hurting me, but you can develop severe complications from it and die. So you want to keep that in mind. And remember, you're not just doing that for you, but you are doing that for the people who surround you, your neighbors and so on. You don't want to be breeding mosquitoes in your area. All right? That is not what you want to be breeding in your background. So we want to keep that in mind.
Fresh air.
Fresh air.
That's what you should be breathing.
Fresh air.
Unpolluted air.
Unpolluted air.
That's what Grenada has. The best. Fresh. That's why so many people are coming to Grenada. We had listened to the Lower House. Did we hear about the... there's a new bill that went to Parliament. Should be going...
Are we speaking about the where visitors are able to get a work permit to work in Grenada?
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke about that on Tuesday morning.
You did?
Before Postcab, yes. And of course we can reiterate, and you would be able to, after the Senate, be able to expound on it and give more information. I was only able to give basic knowledge, but it basically speaks about
pretty simple
about being able to acquire a work permit to come and work here in Grenada.
No, to use Grenada, right? It's a remote work, right? So you don't come and work here in Grenada.
Yeah.
You use Grenada as your place of abode. So you
while you're working remotely.
So your employment will be abroad. Whatever you were doing before, but the fact that COVID had taught a lot of people now how to work at home, you're trying to create an industry where people can more or less come and enjoy your country, be on vacation, so to speak, and they will be afforded a work permit if they desire, if they apply for at least 12 months in the first instance, so they can remain here while working remotely back in the country. So whether it's the US, England, Canada, Germany, wherever they're from.
And from what I understand, the permit costs somewhere around 4,000 EC. 1,500 US.
I don't remember the cost of the permit, but work permit always do cost. It has a cost. But more than that, if you can find a couple of hundred people that wish to come to spend some time in the island in the sun, the Isle of Spice, sun, sand, sea, beautiful people, COVID-free, and so you would, of course, need a place of abode. So rental of a property, or hotel accommodation, guest house, what have you, for the period that you will be staying here. And it doesn't have to be for 1 year. It could be for 6 months. It could be for 3 months. But the fact is, the work permit can be up to a year.
Yeah.
Some people may decide that they want to rent a vehicle. You know, you have to do groceries. You need agricultural supply. So it's kind of trying to create greater market access.
Yes.
And a source of income for our people. It's an additional way that the government is looking at. So I really do hope that
one thing that COVID has done is it has created a lot of opportunities for us to expand our horizons.
Innovation.
It has created a lot of opportunities for innovation. Now you can utilize or work from basically anywhere in the world.
In the world, virtually.
And I don't think anybody has really ever thought of that becoming a possibility. I mean,
there are other countries who have done it already. Barbados, for example,
is doing it. Yes.
Yes.
No, but I mean, pre-COVID, we were not even, I'm sure, looking at that kind of tourism.
No.
You know, because that's basically what it is. It's tourism.
But if you would recall, there's a gentleman a long time ago, maybe at the beginning of this year or late last year, had called this program and asked if we think the government will be willing to do something like that.
Yes. It's the same gentleman that usually calls. He said,
oh,
with his
the team they're
yes,
coming,
yes.
right? And we said we weren't sure, but it's something that can be thrown out to government and they can take a look at it. So government has now come forward and bringing a bill to Parliament to get authorization so to do.
And it's a good thing because now it means that persons in the tourism sector would, start seeing their way if more people utilize this, but also private individuals who maybe had a little apartment that they used to rent out to SGU students and so on, have an opportunity to use that as an Airbnb where people can come and rent out and stay for their allotted amount of time. So it does open a lot of economic doors for us as well. So I'm hoping that, and with our current COVID standing, it makes it a good atmosphere. Although the UK has, put us in not so green of a zone.
They did?
Yes, we are not in the green zone when it comes to travel as it relates to the UK. But
they made a mistake.
nah, man, it's not that. I think it's the factors that allow the grading. So to be in the green zone, you would have to either have limited amount of COVID infections in your country, but also it's based on the amount of vaccinations per population.
Oh,
so we would like to believe that is the reason why they would have put us
and that's why from the onset we were saying, and I've repeated it, that the vaccination is not only for the purposes of health.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the number one reason why you're doing it, to safeguard you and your system, your family. As many of you that are able to take it should take it, because you would be strengthening your immune system and be protected against the COVID-19. But the vaccine has there are other things that it will influence. And here we're talking about because even the tourist liners are saying we are ready to roll again, ensuring that our passengers are vaccinated and our sailors, but we will be calling into ports where the majority of the people that have to interact with our guests from the boat is vaccinated. Yeah. So the longer our taxi drivers and our vendors and our food handlers and our farmers and restaurant owners and workers and so hoteliers, the longer they take to get vaccinated, the longer it will take for that industry to breathe life again. Yeah. Because that is how a lot of people now are deciding whether or not they travel to an island. Yep. The number of people that are vaccinated, percentage-wise. So, friends,
the reach is much further than we think.
Definitely so.
When it comes to this vaccination thing, and a lot of us believe that our government is just doing that because, they want to tell us what to do, or they want to force it down our throats. And I think we can't really see what they see. We are only looking at it from a personal point of view, from a health factor, but they have to look at it from every single sector. They have to look at the economic side of it, the social side of it, the health side of it as well. So for them, they can see all the way around. They see the trouble that can come on all sides, while we are only myopic in our view. We only see that one thing. And if you look at it from that point of view, you are able to see why, or their reason, not just them, but around the world, for doing what they are doing now. And mind you, don't let anybody fool you. Any government that comes into power is going to do the exact same thing, because it is something that is being done all around the world. It is something that is being done internationally. It is the one thing that will keep countries afloat. in this very uncertain time. So don't let any political party come and tell you that, oh, if we come into power, we ain't got forces, you're right, do what you want to do, and we would put things in place so that businesses, employers can't tell you what to do when it comes to vaccination, or we would do this or we would do that. Don't let them come and fool you with that nonsense. You had to really be in it to be able to say that these are the things that we see or we can do or we must do, because we are looking at it from an internal point of view, and we are looking at it from all sides with all information and all knowledge being granted to us. So don't let anybody fool you into believing that we can handle it better because we have all the right answers on the outside. You have to be on the inside.
When you're out of the game, you see more moves. Remember that? Draft. But you don't play draft and you don't know anything about draft. But my friends, let me just say a very pleasant good morning to Mr. Mills, Curtis Mills out in Carriacou. You're my boy, you're my friend, and DC Ranks and all my other friends in Carriacou. Quite a few of them. I've got a lot of friends there. I met one of the truckers last Friday evening, boy. He buy me a beer, Mr. Bagwan.
Hey, you want?
Good people.
I thought he doesn't drink beer again.
Well, I'd stop. But there's nothing as when a good friend offer you a drink, you can't say no. Or you shouldn't say no. You see, it's not a respectable thing to do. And that's not what I said to you. Eh? I said I'm not having any alcoholic beverages these days, beers or anything else. So I never said to you I've stopped drinking beer. But anyway, that's not a discussion for the radio, because he did say to me, I was listening to you and Miss Duncan, and he said something else, but I wouldn't. So, Mr. Bagwan, good day to you. Now, friends, we've come to that point where we had to tell you bye-bye for today. It's about 1:45, and we have to break what we're doing to bring in the national report and the other things that the stations have to do. So, we are grateful for your presence today, those who have sent us messages on the live, those who have called, and those who have just listened, because so many of you just listen and try to make sense of what we're saying, or nod your head in approval, or shake it and say, no, Mr. Bola, not so, we ain't going there today. But be that as it may, it was a pleasure being here Monday with you. First real official working day for the new week. Last day or last Monday in the month?
Last Monday in the month. It's the last day too.
It's also the last day of May. Bye-bye, May, the month for planting yams. But June, you are coming, so we're entering the middle part of 2021. We hope we'll get through it safely. We hope that we won't get bogged down and locked down by COVID-19. We hope that all our people will come to the realization that they need to be disciplined, they need to be responsible, they need to follow the protocol, and most importantly, take the vaccine. So, my friends, have a blessed Monday afternoon. Hope you enjoyed. And God's willing, it may be Friday.
Maybe Friday.
Before we come back.
Again.
Yeah.
Guys, we've come to the end of our program for today. And as we say here every day, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure, be responsible. It's always a pleasure being here with you. Enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for the national report. It has been a pleasure, guys.
Tourism and Civil Aviation Minister Honorable Dr. Clarice Modest-Curwin says increased JetBlue flights presents hope for the economy and the tourism sector. We'll have details of this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Friday, May 28th, 2021, I am Sharia Noel. With increased flight numbers from JetBlue and encouraging ongoing dialogue with other airlines, Grenada's Minister for Tourism and Civil Aviation says there is hope for the local tourism sector. During an interview with the Government Information Service, Honorable Dr. Clarice Modes-Kerwin said the economy also stands to benefit with increased activity in the sector. The tourism industry was severely impacted as a result of the pandemic and is now showing some signs of recovery.
Flights are coming in, tourists are coming. I'm pleased to see that JetBlue is doing daily flights. American has 2 flights per week, but I'm understanding that those flights are fully booked. And so discussions are underway to see how we can get more flights into the country. We know that we're amber with UK, but it's good news and bad news. We would have liked to be in the green, of course. However, amber does not prohibit visits into the country, just says that, be careful.
An optimistic Minister for Tourism and Civil Aviation says that Grenada as a country has to be prepared for when the time comes and continue to do what is necessary to keep our borders and people safe.
With Grenada Tourism Authority and the board and GHTA, we're preparing ourselves. I cannot speak to the resumption of the industry in a serious way without talking about vaccination, because we know that up till now is the only proven way to get your numbers reduced quickly and prevent the spread of the disease. And therefore, if we are going to be inviting people to our shores, we expect them to come in vaccinated so that they are not a part of the problem, but they are part of the solution. And we expect persons who provide services for them, our tour operators, our taxi drivers, our frontline workers at the airport who interact with them, frontline workers in the hotels especially, housekeeping and all of that, people who interact closely. The reality is that anywhere you're going to interact with people, because COVID can only be transmitted from people to people.
The reality, Dr. Modes-Kerwin says, is that we as a country have to pay close attention to how we treat the whole issue of vaccines, vaccinated and unvaccinated people.
The COVID team is looking at that, GHT and others are looking at that, and I expect very soon that some public pronouncements and announcements will be made in that regard. Even as we look at cruise again and the cruise ship visitors, they frequent this place, they love the tours, and we are in discussions. And again, we're leaning to having fully vaccinated guests or visitors, fully vaccinated crew. So I just want to add my word of encouragement to our Grenadian people. Throughout this tri-island state, there are opportunities for vaccinations. It's on the radio, it's on the different media in Grenada, and so it is free, it's available. So avail yourselves to it, and let's get this tourism industry back on track.
Moving along, Grenada is taking steps to ensure better supervision and regulation of virtual asset businesses in the country. Minister for Finance, Honorable Gregory Boeing, presented the Virtual Assets Business Bill in the House of Representatives last Friday. The bill, developed as part of an initiative by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, will allow for greater monitoring of virtual assets businesses within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, through registration and supervision. It will also support government's digital transformation agenda. Once the bill receives a nod from both houses of Parliament, it will assist in the development of a regulatory framework for the sustainability plan in keeping with government's national digital agenda. According to the Finance Minister, the Virtual Assets Business Bill will allow Grenada and other member states to introduce a licensing regime that will be overseen by the national regulators in each country. In Grenada's case, the Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions, GAFIN, will serve as a regulatory body. Minister Bowen explained that registering as a virtual assets business means that virtual assets will be accepted as a form of payment for a product or service from a vendor.
It can be traded and it can be used for payment. So it is something alongside the dollars, the EC dollar or the US dollar or the Trinidad and Tobago dollar. it can carry on its own set of activities. And first, you can also use it for investment. This is the entity that's proposed here. Dominica will have a similar internal regulatory commission already in place, and their business will fall under that. So if you have a virtual asset, and that asset could be very tricky, it is along the same line as Bitcoin, where you have so many transactions and so forth, and they define a transaction by such a place. You have to put a prospectus out on this virtual asset to say what it is worth. And so people will be registered in Grenada, like the leader of the opposition could bring forward his digital component. He could go to GAFIN, and GAFIN will look at it and say, okay, we'll register you for it. Then you can trade for this. You and I may not accept it as payment, but Roberts and Huggins may accept it as payment.
Minister Bowen says the region does not want to be left behind in this economic transformation. The bill, he said, will provide for an easier, safer way of doing business.
It's a new area that we're moving in, and this region does not want to be left behind. That is why the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, under the leadership of the distinguished governor, is promoting this. And hopefully, people believe that the economic powers that be, the member for St. Patrick West this morning talk about the powers that be. The member for the tongue of St. George mentioned that grouping again. That could be blocking you in so many ways. And one is to remove your corresponding bank. So you want to pay for something in US dollars, keep your EC. There's nothing you could do with it. You can't pay to bring down the goods. But with the virtual currency, you pay the man, you pay the firm you buying it from up there. This comes in, comes down to you, he gets payment for it. You could invest in securities. Yes, the same securities we're talking about there. Once those companies will want it, you can do it.
Moving along, fisher folk at the Guave and Melville Street fish markets now feel a greater sense of security with lights fully restored at the facilities. This was made possible by the Ministry of Sports, Culture and the Arts, Fisheries and Cooperatives following a recent meeting to listen to the concerns of fishers about safety of their boats and fishing gear. Recommendations made were taken on board by the ministry. Following the meeting, the ministry conducted a site visit to make a thorough assessment of the repair and maintenance work needed at all the fish markets on the island. Promptly thereafter, an official request was made to the Financial Complex Limited to begin restorative work on the lights at the facilities. That work was completed on May 20th, 2021. Fishers have expressed their appreciation to the ministry for swiftly addressing their needs and say they look forward to the other rehabilitative work planned by the ministry. This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back. A special meeting of CXC's council, which comprises governments from across the region, has agreed, among others, to delay sitting of the regional examinations by a further 2 weeks. Details in this report by Annette Moore.
CXC held a meeting on May 25th where members reviewed and accepted a report from CXC's School Examinations Committee, which made recommendations on the strategy for the 2021 regional examinations. This came from discussions at CARICOM's Council of Human and Social Development 28th session on May 12th, 2021. The revised strategy for the 2021 regional examinations is as follows. 1. CXC will administer CAPE, CSEC, and the Caribbean Certificate of Secondary Level Competence, CCSLC, examinations in their original format. 2. CXC will delay the sitting of the regional examinations by a further 2 weeks. This will provide candidates the extra time to prepare for exams. Therefore, examinations will begin Monday, June 28, 2021. The exam duration for CAPE and CSEC is June 28th to July 30th, 2021. Results will be released the last week in September to the first week in October 2021. And 3. The time for the submission of the School-Based Assessment, SBA, has been extended. The deadline for the submission of SBAs will be extended to June 30th, 2021 for all CSEC and CAPE examinations. Deputy Chief Education Officer with responsibility for exams, Michelle Peters-George, is appreciative of the extension.
The examination was scheduled to start for the 14th of June, and now it will be starting on the 20th. So you're talking about a 2 weeks window. It gives the students much more time to prepare for the examination because we know what happened with the effects of COVID-19. Although it was not as severe in Grenada as the other countries, with the COVID, there were setbacks, you know. We started a little later, September, and so that sort of affected students. So that time that we have now, I think schools could really use that opportunity to ensure that students, you know, brush up on the last minute areas, concepts, and so that they can perform even better.
However, she also cautioned all involved against complacency despite the extension of the SBA deadline.
Extension up to the 30th of June, but I must inform the public that when CXC says the 30th of June, that's the absolute deadline, which means that the Ministry of Education has the internal deadline that we still have to work with. So schools, they have to also bear that in mind, and parents and so it doesn't mean that everybody should just heave up and say, okay, well, we have a whole long time more. It's just a 2 weeks extension. So persons still have to work and stick to the deadlines, basically, that we have so that we can get it up to the Caribbean Examinations Council by the 30th of June.
Peters-George also commented on the administration of the exams.
Last year, we had a modified approach. That's what CXC used, which means that most subject areas, we utilize paper 1 and the SBA. But this year, we are back to the original format of the examination. So we're looking at papers 1, 2, and 3, and of course, the alternative paper for persons who are private candidates.
CXC will also extend consideration during the grading process to account for the possible psychosocial impact on students' performance to ensure that they are not disadvantaged. The Council has introduced a new level of flexibility for the delayed conduct of on-site moderation with an absolute deadline now set at July 31st, 2021. Other concessions made due to the COVID-19 pandemic include the reduction of SBA requirements by as much as 50% for some subjects, the release of broad topics on May 10th to assist students in studying relevant material. Students now have the option to defer all or some of their exams to January or June 2022, and CXC has also extended the date to indicate deferral to May 31st, 2021. For the first time, CXC will accept SBAs in January 2022 for candidates deferring to sit examinations for subjects offered in that period.
We're not saying that everybody should defer because we know that most persons are basically prepared. We've seen 1 or 2 deferrals coming in, but it's not as much as the other countries, what they're seeing. And so we're really happy with that at the Ministry of Education, the fact that maybe most persons are feeling that they're basically prepared for the examination and are ready to see the exam. So I think that's a plus. The impact of the COVID has not been that significant as compared to the other countries. And of course, that's one of the main reasons I think that persons have not chosen the deferral. So persons who really have a serious issue, they need to report that to the center. And if it really comes based on the reasoning, of course, the deferral can happen. But it's not just for any reason. It must be a valid reason for a deferral to go forward.
CXC will also work with candidates in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to ensure that they are not disenfranchised as a result of the volcanic eruption. The council believes that all of these decisions they've made are in the best interest of its stakeholders across the region and will continue to engage stakeholders to this effect. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
And with that story, we come to the end of the National Report for Friday, May 28th, 2021. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.